Once again, this House believes that prisons should not be abolished. My opponent's rebuttal manages to prove exactly why they should still exist. First, he defines prison as a place where people are held as a form of punishment. He uses such a vague definition that it can be applied to one's room when they're grounded, or a high school detention classroom, since he fails to specify what kind of prison we're talking about, whereas I define it as a place of confinement providing services to people convicted of a crime. His definition should be rejected. Second, he does not define what punishment is. Many would say that being held against their will and forced to undergo so-called recovery treatment, the details of which we have no clue, as a form of punishment. Therefore, his resolution can in fact be defined as punishment and therefore a prison. He also uses his source's high rate of crime recidivism to try to trump my source, since my source states that 25% of crime overall has decreased. However, my source takes into account real statistical evidence, whereas his source uses a sample size to create the high numbers in that data, which is not applicable to the real world. Therefore, my evidence outweighs. My opponent also tries to refute my point about decriminalizing the possession of small amounts of marijuana and nonviolent drug offenses by saying that it can lead to individuals committing violent acts, but he only resorts to using can lead to or may lead to instead of providing concrete evidence, and tries to refute my source of a woman being sent to jail for a longer period of time for a small marijuana sale over a woman who has committed murder. Therefore, his point is invalid. There is no source that concretely proves that causal determinism is true. He merely provides a source defining what it is, and I determined from the source that it's not true because it renders people with an absence of responsibility. And as I stated before, that even if it is true, which it isn't, people will still be accountable for their actions, whether it was predetermined or not. The way I define the penal system and how it punishes manslaughter versus murder is the perfect example. My opponent fails to acknowledge the havoc that would wreak if prisons were to be abolished. By supporting causal determinism, he is allowing violent and evil crimes to be committed and absolving the wrongdoer of all guilt and responsibility. If causal determinism is true, it means that there is no punitive measure for any wrongdoing. And if this was true, then there would be no order in society, and like I said, we would be in a state of perpetual chaos. He's ignoring the fact that the majority of convictions of people in prison are drug-related, many of them non-violent, and he's putting non-violent offenders on the same plane as serial killers and rapists. Human beings are not factory-produced in that they can all be treated in the same way. Many murders are committed by people who are sociopathic, and these people cannot be changed by any amount of rehab. He does not address the fact that the war on drugs is severely detrimental to the U.S. economy. In 2010, the U.S. spent $15 billion on the war on drugs, and to what effect? 15 states have already either legalized medical marijuana or decriminalized possession, with more states riling up to do the same. So where is this money going? Certainly not to protect the public, as it is destructive to the quality of life, and not going to help to protect the health care of many prisoners who are there for the sole reason of strict drug laws. If we want society to remain protected from real criminals, then we will keep real criminals, i.e. the violent offenders, in prison where they will be punished. And we will reform drug policies to decriminalize the possession of small amounts of marijuana, which will serve to benefit both sides of this debate, as many innocent people will no longer fear punishment for a harmless so-called crime, and the economy will prosper once more, and prison overcrowding will be addressed. My resolution provides solvency for multiple issues, therefore I should win this debate.